My mother-in-law had it all planned out. Naively, I was unaware of it. But now, I can't express how much joy she brings to my life. Not long after graduating from college and starting my job, I went on a summer vacation. It was a trip with college friends, all of us new employees, with not much in the way of salary. We pooled our funds for a quick on-night, 2-day trip. Had we had more money, perhaps we would have chosen a fancy resort by the ocean, but our tight budgets led us to a valley instead. A friend booked a guest house, and we got a great spot near the valley. In exchange for promising to leave a good review, the landlady boasted about giving us a spot that took a while to clear of rocks. She always set up a shade tent there, offering it to younger guests in return for good online reviews. The valley had crystal clear water, probably because it was a first-grade river. The landlady looked quite young and had 2 little sons. There was no sign of her husband, but a young woman was bustling about, helping out, though it was unclear if she was family. This woman, who ran a small shop attached to the guest house and looked after the boys, seemed to have a close relationship with the landlady, while my friends and I were enjoying the water and grilling meat. This young woman brought us sliced watermelon, cheerfully saying, "You like our guest house, right? Enjoy." My friends were playing in the valley, and I was lazily listening to pop music through a Bluetooth speaker, noticing that the woman was quite pretty and seemed interested in me. She asked where I was from, and I told her New York, and even mentioned the name of my company. She was excited and said, "Oh, I work in the building next to that company." We quickly became friends and exchanged contact information. After returning home, I contacted her, and we were able to meet a few days later. She was my age and worked in accounting at her company. After dating for a year, we decided to marry, even though it might have seemed a bit early. When the topic of marriage came up, she began to talk about her family. Her mom had passed away when she was in elementary school, and the woman we saw at the guest house was her stepmother. They only ran the guest house during the summer season and lived together in New York the rest of the time. Her dad had remarried not long after her mom passed away. My father remarried a woman 10 years his junior, who promised me, "I won't have any children until you go to college. I want to focus solely on you." She treated me incredibly well and true to her word. Didn't have a child until I went off to college. But tragically, my father passed away in an accident when the youngest sibling was about 100 days old. My stepmother found herself in a dire situation, unable to decide what to do next. I told her, "You can leave if you want, but I'd really like it if you stayed." She was deeply depressed for a while, but eventually decided to run the guest house. Her parents had owned, believing it would be a good education for her young sons. Despite the competition from resorts, pensions, and hotels, the guest house didn't earn much. But she made a little by charging for short visits and selling snacks like ramen, eggs, and cookies. During a company vacation, I went to help my stepmother and met her. She said it was love at first sight when she saw me resting under a canopy tent, and she approached me with a watermelon. Having lost her mother at a young age and then her father, she made me want to protect her for the rest of our lives. So I proposed first. Our marriage went smoothly. We got a house near my work, and life was busy. My mother-in-law, who has always been an excellent cook, would invite us over for meals on the weekends, leading me to gain some weight. Despite never having run a restaurant, I felt she could be quite successful if she tried. She was hardworking and, despite being a young widow, seemed to be doing well. So I always made sure to leave her with some money when we visited. My wife went on a business trip to Europe, visiting Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic, and Hungary for 10 days. After she left, my mother-in-law called, suggesting we go out for a meal. I've always been close to her, so I was happy to accept the invitation. My brothers-in-law were going camping for the weekend, so we planned to meet for a meal then. The next morning, my mother-in-law called to say she had sent the kids off and would be free the following evening. I went over to her house and we headed to a restaurant known for its course meals, located near a beautiful stream. We enjoyed a leisurely meal, chatting about various things. After lunch, I asked my mother-in-law, "What do you want to do now? Visit a gallery or maybe grab a coffee?" To my surprise, she shyly replied, "I'd like to spend today in a quiet place." Hearing such words from a woman who had been widowed for years made me feel deeply for her. I was in the bliss of newlywed life, but I realized the loneliness she must feel as a woman. I decided to honor her wish, and she was thrilled. "I've been so scared being alone all this time. Let's go to my house today," she said, taking my hand. Wanting to repay the kindness she showed in raising my wife with love, I followed her lead. After that day, my mother-in-law began to send me shy text messages asking, "Are you very busy today?" On days she seemed urgent, I'd take a half day off in the morning to be with her. Recently, my wife has been struggling with severe morning sickness and is very sensitive to even the slightest touch. So my mother-in-law and I have been supporting each other. I really enjoy the situation right now, and even though I know it's probably not right, I don't want to think about what comes next.